News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler and the Louisville Real Estate Show here with you till the top of the hour. We've got a lot of stuff, including what do you do if your neighbor's a jerk or causing problems? We'll get that right off the top in a moment. First, let me introduce the folks who are here with us. We have Lee Harris, who's legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. And you can reach her on our cell phone anytime, 649-7964. And yes, she really does answer her phone. Also here in for Randy Rocky today, Steve Phillips, who's over at Swan Financial. They do a great job. You can reach Steve anytime at 439-2859. That is Steve's direct cell phone number. So Steve Phillips over at Swan Financial. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, if you'd like me to come out, talk about the plan to get your home on the market sold for as much money as possible. And my direct cell phone number is 376-5483. That's 376-5483. Or you can go to bobsellmyhome.com. By the way, in case you didn't hear, Louisville has moved up in the rankings as one of the best places to live. I don't know if you heard about this. It was in the Courier Journal. Eleanor McCrary wrote the article. And apparently the U.S. News and World Report, Louisville rose from number 88 up to number 62. So they are saying we did pretty good. And that's good for us. Nice to hear. We're up in the rankings. All right. So up front here, what if you have a problem with a neighbor? What do you do? As it turns out, the extra time spent home during the pandemic may have been too much togetherness for some neighbors. 52% of 1,000 Americans recently polled said they are annoyed by their neighbors multiple times a year. 35% say they're annoyed by their neighbors at least once a month. Younger generations, Greg, pay attention, millennials and Generation Z appear to be most irked by the habits of their neighbors, according to the
It might be our baby boomer neighbors that's irking us the most. I'm not sure. Really? But as I'm hearing this, I'm sure Bob's neighbors are like, oh,
yeah, they're pointing at me. And the number one complaint is, in the most part, pets. Yep.
Barking dogs.
Music, television, yard work. Most common noise complaints. Survey shows that Gen Z, the youngest generation in the housing market in their 20s, said that screaming or crying children is one of the most common reasons their neighbors are noisy. Baby boomers cited barking pets along with crying children.
It's funny that they mention that because some of the generations right under me, like my generation, all into having kids, but like my brother-in-law, who's a couple years younger, who's still like in the younger millennial gap. A lot of these people not having kids, don't want kids, and they always complain about noisy babies on airplanes and crying babies in shopping centers. And I'm like, guys, guess what? Babies cry. Get over it.
Wow. Yeah, you may change your tune when you get older.
Listen, pre-baby, when I was on the airplane, I was that guy. I was like, oh, God, there's the baby across from me crying. Now, listen, go invest in a pair of noise-canceling headphones.
There you go.
And,
good advice.
And keep quiet.
Now, the reason this is so important is because Cassie wrote in, and we get a lot of these emails. This is just representative of one of our listeners. Cassie wrote in and says, my neighbor built a pool 1 foot onto her property. So she's really annoyed, and she's wondering, can she legally make him provide access?
Well, sounds like she doesn't get to use it. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. Can she legally require that she gets access to the pool? If not, she's wondering, what are her options, Lee?
That 1 foot portion, you know?
Yeah, you can swim in that one little part.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, believe it or not, even though we have a lot of, platted neighborhoods and people get surveys before they put up pools or fences or whatever, there's a lot of fences and pools and garages and you name it out there.
And Louisville zoos and...
Yeah, right, exactly. that are on someone else's property. So basically that's called an encroachment in the law, Cassie. And, there's several things you can do. One is you could go to your neighbor nicely and say, okay, you need to compensate me for that space because you're basically taking my space, however much that would be worth. You could give them an easement where they're allowed to stay over it. If they are encroaching on you and you'd like to use the pool, I think that would be a nice compromise on their part to say, hey, well, since we're taking a foot of your property, you can use our pool. Ultimately, if you have a major issue with it, or if somebody's going to buy your property and they say, hey, we're not buying into some kind of encroachment, then, ultimately, believe it or not, you could go to court and have them fill in the pool or remove the pool. Usually it's a garage or a fence that's easier to move. A pool is obviously very difficult to get rid of or to fix. But yeah, so it doesn't stop you necessarily from enjoying your property, and it is something that we deal with every day, and we can fix it obviously in a legal way, and hopefully you can just enjoy your neighbors and come to a compromise, because not having a good relationship with your neighbors obviously is a stressful thing to come home to every day. It is.
So, Lee, if they get an easement that allows the pool to stay, and that is in perpetuity, it never goes away.
Yeah, easement runs with the land. Yes.
Stays with the land. All right.
Right.
Good. All right. So that hopefully, and listen, there are a lot of other neighbor problems. And just those of you who follow the show know my 2 German Shepherds are really noisy, and I apologize always to my neighbors. One of the German Shepherds got out of the gate. They actually squeezed the gate apart.
Wow.
And my neighbor was really worried. Yeah, no kidding. This was scary. But my neighbor, nice call, say, hey, your dog is out here. So, of course, got the dog back in. And then I tightened up those slats between the fence. And then what I did was, and I'm still testing this, I bought this. It's like it's not thick enough, but it's thick fabric, and it's made to go up around fences. So what I'm trying to do is block the dog's vision from inside the yard to look outside the yard to keep their barking down. Now, I put one layer. I'm going to put another layer a couple of weeks down, which will hopefully prevent the dogs from seeing out. And I'm told it doesn't look the best from the road, but truthfully, I'm trying to protect my neighbors from the barking. I'm not so concerned. So anyway, there you go. The update on JJ and Chloe. All right, we go over now to Steve Phillips. Liam is another one of our first-time home buyers who are listening to our show. He says his older sister told him that she knows of, or there used to be, first-time home buyer loans available. And Liam is wondering, are they still out there? Are those loans still out there, Liam? For Liam. Steve.
Yeah, so not necessarily. There's no programs that are only for first-time home buyers. There are programs that a lot of first-time home buyers use, such as FHA and such, but there's no programs that only you have to be a first-time home buyer to qualify for. Now, with that being said, there are programs that do without. KHC, Kentucky Housing, actually does have a program where you can, if you don't have a mortgage in the last 3 years, which is what is classified as a first-time home buyer, if there is no mortgage in the last 3 years, there is a grant program that they allow you to get into that can help with your down payment and funds and such. So there's not any specific for first-time home buyers, but again, there are a lot of programs that first-time home buyers can utilize to help with that hump of either the down payment or mostly the down payment. But
yeah, well, that's great knowledge. I think it's common misconception of when those credits come out of like what's classified as a first time home buyer. Like if there hasn't been a mortgage in 3 years, I think it's not a lot of people know that they can still apply for those credits, or maybe they had a home and now they went back to renting and it's been a couple of years and they want to take another shot at it. It's good to know that they still have the ability to go after some of these credits that were originally conceptualized as thinking, oh, this is my very first home. I've never had a mortgage before, and this is the only way I can qualify.
You know, we're hearing. Yeah, good.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, as long as there's no mortgage interest reported on your IRS tax returns for the 3-year window, the previous 3-year window, that's how they classify it.
Cool.
So the market is slowing down. We're seeing definite signs of more homes coming in the market, fewer buyers going out there, interest rates going up, slowing things down. Steve, do you think that we may see a resurgence of some sort of first-time homebuyer program if it slows too much to get the market moving again? Because that's what happened in the early parts of 2012, 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah, but I don't think it's necessarily an issue of needing first-time homebuyer programs. I mean, they're always nice, and you can certainly find borrowers to fill those needs, but it's more of inventory. I mean, no matter how many borrowers we have, we still don't have a house for them to buy, especially in that first-time homebuyer pricing range.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that is, until the inventory gets in there, no matter how many new programs they introduce, we're still going to have that bottleneck.
No, I'm forward thinking. I see the whole thing slowing down now, and I think not too far in the distant future, that the inventory will take care of itself, that there are going to be a lot more homes on the market, fewer buyers out there, which apparently is what the government wanted to do, which is going to throw everything into an uproar.
Tinfoil hat guy, you got mad at me a couple shows back for saying that very same thing.
I'm just pointing out what is there. So, all right, we move forward. So, Lee, last week's show, Greg was on it. We had a story from one of our listeners, and apparently this person was listening. She says, I heard a lady's story. This was Ada, about the lighting fixtures. It sounds like a problem that Ada's having. She says, I changed out my lighting fixtures before putting the house on the market. A buyer put an offer in on the house. Get a load of this. The buyer apparently actually walked through the attic where she had the original lighting fixtures stored in boxes. Apparently this attic was right off one of the rooms on the second floor. She opened the boxes and asked for those lighting fixtures to be put up in the house. And her agent actually wrote in that the contract did violate my privacy. Well, I guess she's wondering if the contract and what this other lady who's buying the house did, violating the privacy by going into her attic and opening up boxes. She could be in the attic, the buyer, but not opening up boxes, right? Lee, what were your thoughts on that?
Yes, I would think that is going a little too far. Obviously, you're going to open the closets. You're going to probably open the kitchen cabinets. You're going to look at things like that. But going into people's personal boxes, or even their jewelry box, or opening a box that's obviously stored, that would be what, I don't know, trespass is probably not exactly the right word, but it's a similar concept, because you're inside the house with permission, but you didn't get permission to do everything.
But this happens, I guess, more than we know, though. Just note, sellers, that when a buyer's agent is showing the house, the buyer agents will stay with the buyers as much as humanly possible. If they're
unless it's like going into the attic, right? Yeah, there's
certain things happening. The kids are running around the house,
and as much as you could say, hey, to the buyer's agent, you're supposed to be with them and go up there. There are certain circumstances. You got kids running around, the wife's downstairs, the husband's poking around upstairs, the partner, this, that, the third.
Yeah.
So it happens. But yeah, if I was the buyer's agent, my client had just gone upstairs and opened up some boxes and said, hey, I want these lighting fixtures. Say you probably shouldn't have looked in those boxes. So it's probably one of those things that we shouldn't ask for, and put my buyer on notice. That is not something that you do, is opening up other people's personal items when you go into a house. I would scold my buyer immediately personally, because that's just personally bad manners, aside from any ethics or any legal, because you're right. I think what we're looking for is, Lee, is there anything legal? Is it just scolding, you should have known better?
Yeah, I mean, in order for something to be actionable, there has to be some sort of damages to it. I mean, we all have a right to privacy, of course, but what did it cost her? Really nothing, but except her feeling yucky and thinking somebody's going through my stuff, Yeah. But yeah, I think as far as what damages does she have, probably none.
And my thought to further is that maybe it just said the box was labeled beautiful old fixtures, and the person was like, hey,
that I took out, you can't have.
This may look, and so Bob will tell you, we always tell our clients, valuables, put them up. Things that you don't want seen, put them up, lock them away, put them in storage. If you're that cautious or curious about it or sensitive to it, get it out. This is part of the process.
Did Ada say whether she gave her the light fixtures or not?
No, did she make money? Did she sell them?
I think she wanted to know if there was any legal action she can take. But I think you've answered that. No, that would be that was where she was going.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break and come back with more of your questions. With us today, Lee Harris, legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach Lee at 649-7964. And by the way, when you're over at Limestone, ask for some of their cookies. They are the very best in town as a snack. Also here with us, in for Randy Rocky, Steve Phillips, who's with Swan Financial. They do a fabulous job of getting your loan to the point of getting to the closing table, and they do their due diligence right off the top, which we applaud. You can reach Steve and everybody over there at 439-2859. You can reach my son, Greg, who does our marketing photography, through me, because we are a team. You can reach me to come out and talk to you about getting your home on the market. It's free for us to come out. It's no obligation. And all you do is call. We come out, we talk, and have a plan together. And if you decide to go forward, we go from there. You can reach me at 376-5483. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank fame. She is a lovely lady, and we are really thankful for her being a mentor and a friend. With us today on the show, Steve Phillips, who is in for Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. You can reach Steve directly on his phone at 439-2859. Also here, Lee Harris, legal counsel, Limestone Title and Escrow. And Lee is available over at Limestone at 649-7964. My son Greg, who does our marketing, photography, and so much more, is with me and us. And you can reach me anytime to come out and talk about getting your home on the market at 376-5483. By the way, we also have now 14 buyer agents, so if you're looking for a home, our agents can help you as well. 376-5483 is the direct number. Steve, this comes in, the email from Mimi, who has a problem that I think is important for all of our listeners, whether you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, or have sons or daughters or have friends. She says that Mimi says her fiance and she bought their house together. And Lee, you may want to jump in on this too.
Yep. I know where this is going.
You know where it's going. The fiance signed the mortgage, but not the note. And I have a trouble discriminating between what the mortgage and the note. Anyway, if the marriage eventually they get married, it fails, is the person on the note impacted at all? How does that shake out for a boyfriend, girlfriend who sign one? Maybe it's the deed that she's talking about.
Mortgage and not the deed.
Yeah, maybe it's the mortgage and deed. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So one signs the mortgage and both sign the deed. Where's the problem with that? I think that pretty much is wild, crazy, right?
Yeah, so whoever signs the mortgage or the note, they're the ones responsible for the payment of the loan. Whoever's on the title just shows ownership of the property. So whoever signed the mortgage is the financial responsible.
And if they're on the mortgage and not the title, they got hosed.
Well, you can't do that. The lenders aren't going to let you do that. But thankfully, boy, that'd be a tough one to be in.
Yeah. As I say, I'm trying to figure out how the situations break down.
No, I think it's the one's on the mortgage, but both are on the deed. So if the deal splits up, if they get divorced, the one who's on the mortgage is in trouble because she or he has the responsibility,
financial burden,
paying back. So, Lee, let's turn this into something that would be beneficial for both Mimi and anybody else listening. What type of document should a boyfriend, girlfriend who are not married? Because we should point out that when you're married, typically you're both going to be on the deed, and for the most part, Steve, they're going to be on the mortgage together, unless one of the person's credit rating is not as good, right?
There's various reasons, but not all the time do you have husband and wife on the loan, but most of the time they are together on the deed or the title.
Got it. So, so Lee, what document should be prepared for boyfriend and girlfriend, fiancés, if they're going to buy a home together, to give equal distribution of the home should the marriage or relationship fall apart?
Yes, I'd call it something along the lines of a prenuptial agreement. Like if you say, okay, well, if I put in $3,000 for the down payment and you put in $5,000 for the down payment, and then we split up down the line, it's a contract essentially. We're going to do X, Y, Z. We're going to sell the property and you're going to pay me my money back, or you're going to keep the property and you're going to pay me my money back, or you don't ever have to pay me back. I mean, it happens all the time. You know what happens when people break up? Then they want to be a little bit vindictive. Then when the other person goes to sell the property, you've got this barrier, this obstacle of someone who either has to sign off or wants money. So, I know people who are in love and everything, they're not going to say, hey, let's sit down and sign a contract. But really, you need some kind of written agreement if you're going to get into a purchase as big as a piece of real estate. How are we going to handle this in the future?
Blame it on Lee Harris, folks. Just say you heard the radio show where
Mama Lee told me I needed to get a prenuptial agreement.
Yeah, don't blame it on yourself. Just say Mama Lee Harris suggested and then move it forward. Then call Lee. I'll give the number out in a little bit. Call Lee and She'll get it done for her. And she'll say, yeah, I suggested that because it's important for you guys to be properly represented. All right.
Right.
Moving over, Steve Clark wrote us. He's heard about adjustable rate mortgages, nothing new on that, ARM, and the changing interest rate that we're seeing right now. We are seeing rates go crazy these days. Are there any types of loans that he would not have to worry about with interest rates changing other than these fixed rates, which is going up? So in other words, he's hearing about the ARMs. He knows they go up. They're adjusted on a regular basis based on whatever the loan is. He doesn't want to maybe go to an ARM, which a lot of people are leery of doing, but he's attracted by the lower interest rate of the ARM. Is there any other loan out there other than the fixed interest rate that you can think of?
Well, the fixed rates are out there, and obviously they're going to create the stability. But if he wants the lower payment option with the stability of a fixed rate, an interest only is one possibility, where basically you only pay the interest, not the principal. So your monthly payments are quite low, and you don't have that higher payment. And it is a fixed rate for the most part, so you don't have to worry about the future fluctuations in the rates.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. That's an interesting concept, though. You're not putting any money towards the principal, which down the road could hurt you. If you're going to be in the house, Steve, 5 years or less, would you recommend an ARM that's a 5-year adjustable?
Yeah, right now, especially the shorter the time, the better. I think for the ARMs, I still prefer the stability of a fixed rate, but with regards to a lot of homeowners, the adjustable rates open up a lot more avenues to either increase purchasability or reduce their monthly mortgage payment. So the ARMs are definitely a useful tool to a lot of homeowners right now.
Yeah, the students, medical residents, all that kind of stuff really benefit. They do short stints. They'll come in. We see a lot of the ARMs there. So there's definitely benefit, coming in, doing a short stint for business, executive stuff. See, they're out there. Those products do work.
So that leads us to this next question. And Steve and Lee, this both is for you. This is interesting. Tony sent us an email saying, his neighbor is a buddy of his, and for a variety of reasons, the neighbor is in financial debt and needs $30,000. So, Tony says he's a good friend, and the neighbor bought the house 10 years ago, paid $60,000. It's now worth approximately $210,000, and the neighbor doesn't want to refinance the house because of interest rates or sell it. So Tony is wondering, can he give the neighbor $30,000 in cash and then go on the title as part owner for any future sale of the house? Is that possible, and how does that happen? Interesting question, huh? I've never heard that before.
There's companies that are out there doing that too, but I want to hear Lee first.
There actually are, very much.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I don't think there's any problem with that. If his buddy wants to put him on his title, there's nothing stopping that. And if the $30,000 gets him there, that's fine. Another option that could keep him out of the loop could be just his buddy getting an equity line of credit. That could be opening up some equity on that property and not get our writer actually involved in his financial aspect of it.
Yeah, except that Tony, who's writing us, says that the neighbor's in financial debt. That's indicating to me that he doesn't have the credit.
$30,000.
Yeah, he's not going to have the credit to get a home equity loan. So, Lee, anything on a legal level? Well, can you write something there that he says you'll get $30,000 back if you attach a lien of some sort? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. They could. He could just quit claim a portion to the other person. They could go in survivorship where they split the profits, or it goes to the survivor. They could have a contract. They could have a contract that says they split the profits, or they could have a contract that says when it sells, he gets his $30,000 plus whatever. I mean, anybody, really can. They could have a contract agreeing upon how they're going to handle their real estate. They could put it in an LLC. There's a lot of options. If he wants to talk to a real estate attorney, they could give him the one that's the best in terms of taxes and all of those things you have to consider.
And we should point out that this, even though this is a neighbor situation, this could be you as family members, good friends or family members that you might want to try helping them, and this might be an option to go down the road with. So
they're literally, I saw a company come across my Instagram, social media, whatever, advertising, and it would say, can't can't do equity line of credit. Here's basically the same thing. We'll cash you out, but they get on your title. So that when you go to sell, that's how they guarantee their money back, essentially, is by being on title.
We're actually, we're seeing a number. In fact, I got a call this past week from a company that actually will loan home sellers money to buy their home, their new home. So when they go in with an offer, they don't have to go contingent. They go in with cash, which is actually, we do some of that as well, but this is an actual several companies now that are making themselves known throughout the country to help offset the problem with contingent offers where sellers don't want to accept a contingent offer. And that's
possibly too little too late. As you said, there's some inventory coming back on a little bit, and we're still seeing it. But in those tighter price points here in Louisville, it's still tight. Don't let the rising interest rates fool you. There's still competition, and we still need more listings because we still see in those lower price points where the first-time home buyers, there's just nowhere to go.
Getting 15 offers, 46 showings, it's still crazy out there.
And older generations don't have anywhere to downsize to.
Yeah.
They're getting out of these mega mansions. They have nowhere to go to downsize. So there's still lots of competition over the same homes.
We are out of time. My thanks to Lee Harris, legal counsel over at Limestone Title and Escrow. You can reach her directly on her cell phone at 649-7964. And by the way, for my fellow realtors who might be listening, Lee is a phenomenal resource. She's a former legal counsel to the Real Estate Commission years ago. She's a great resource if you have questions, legal questions. She's a great person to talk to. Also, our thanks.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. We love you. Also, Steve Phillips, who's in for Randy Rocky. Steve did a great job over at Swan Financial. You can reach out to Steve at 439-2859. Thanks for being here. And my son, Greg, who does our marketing photography. I'm very proud of him, does a great job. And you can reach me anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483. Or you can also reach out to me and come out, go to bobsellmyhome.com, fill that out. It'll come to me, and we'd be thrilled to help you get your home on the market or work with our 14 buyer agents who can help you find your next house. We're out of time. We'll see you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.